Hola guys, hope you're well. I just got back from Mexico. Luckily the plane didn't go down, didn't end up in the wilderness and didn't become a cannibal, so successful trip. But unsuccessful because I'm now very out of date with my reviews. So I've had to come back and fill you in on all my thoughts on episodes 7 and 8, which I watched 8 just a couple of days ago. 7 I watched before I went to Mexico, so like 2 weeks ago. Have not seen the finale yet and I'm so excited. I actually cannot wait. I'm jealous of you guys that have seen it. I'm going to go watch it probably straight after this and give you all my thoughts because I can't wait to see how this season wraps up and some of the kind of answers I think that we're finally going to get. Judging off the end of episode 8, we're probably going to find out who the real villains are, who created the whole kind of cult scenario, Antler Queen, blah blah blah. We shall see. But for now, let me just give you my thoughts on episodes 7 and 8. I think I'll talk about like the flashbacks, the teenage stuff for both episodes, and then we'll go to the adult stuff for both episodes. I feel like that's probably a good structure, a good way to do it. So episode 7, I think I've heard this was like a really popular episode, a lot of people's favourite episode of the season so far, and I would agree, having not seen episode 9, I do think that this was probably potentially one of the best, and I think it was a really, really strong episode. I think it stood out for two reasons of like finally giving us, not finally, there's been something, but giving us that grit, that amazing stuff that we tuned in for from that wild prologue that we got back in the pilot, but with emotion behind it. It was an incredibly strong episode. Obviously, that opening was such an emotional note because we open with Shauna having just lost her baby. She is grieving. She's fully in the throes of postnatal depression, and everybody in the cabin is kind of right there with her. They are down. They have got no food. They are snowed in. They are just not getting rescued. And, thank God the only thing they can be happy about is that they've got that cabin and they can light a fire. Apart from that, life is sucking for all the girls, the teacher, and the two brothers. And so throughout that episode, we also have the missing crystal. So that's another reason for them to be incredibly low. We go through this episode where they're all just, depressed in kind of a dark hole. They manage to, get out of the kind of avalanche clears. They can get out of their snowed in cabin, and Shauna can bury the baby. So things, the mood lightens a little. You can't really say lightens, but, things alleviate a little bit and they go looking for crystal. And then we have this scene where you kind of had the sneaky, naughty Misty, who definitely would be one of my favourite characters, even though because she had the original sin of destroying the flight recorder, don't worry, I know she's not, I can't say that she is a good girl, but she's definitely one of the most interesting characters. I also really love, like I've said, Samantha Hanratty's performance. And she initiates this search for Crystal, even though it is her that accidentally manslaughtered Crystal. So you're watching all of that and you're kind of thinking, oh, for God's sake, Misty, what are you up to? Very sneaky, very sly, and who you're going to end up throwing off a cliff next, to get your own way. And then she comes across Coach Ben, who, she had all this unrequited love for in season 1, and he is standing at the edge of the cliff, and he is considering jumping off and killing himself. And for everything Misty's done, you can see she's got such survivor skill. She's got all this skill because she didn't save the baby when she kind of had the potential to, or she thought she had the potential to. It's obviously not her fault. She's really drowning in guilt, grief, and shame, which I think are some of the strongest emotions that we can see any character go through. And the fact that this is all coming from the background of like a bullied, rejected girl, and that's why she's been so desperate. She destroyed the flight recorder. Like, the character really does just get me. And then she's in this moment where she's about to watch someone commit suicide, have to, convince everyone again that it wasn't her, even though she's wrong place, wrong time again. And I really thought that it was going to happen and she was going to be overloaded with all this guilt. And then we just get this powerful performance of her saying, no, you are not going to do this. You are going to survive. You are not going to give me another body on my hands, and you're not going to break. You're going to come back. It was a pretty beautiful scene, and it was just something kind of completely new flavour to the character that I didn't expect to get. And just, chef's kiss, another reason why that episode, and why the writers get kind of a massive tick from me. It's kind of where I see like the talent shining through of the creators, of the writers in that scene, whereas I don't always see that in this show. Like, obviously they're fab, but sometimes I just feel like they take like an easy or kind of a reductive way of doing a scene, but this was like totally fresh, lovely. Whoever put it on the board in the writer's room is, you know, gold star. And on that emotional note, continuing, we have Shauna just grieving, and she is still kind of trapped and haunted by her nightmare where they ate her baby. So she thinks, you know, she is kind of convinced of that. She goes in, starts having a massive go at everybody, and ends up punching Misty. So Misty gets it again, and this is where Lottie steps in. So this character of Lottie has been this mysterious enigma. At the end of season 1, definitely seemed like it was set up that she was going to be the villain. And then years later, she runs a body cult, and she still has this massive hold on a lot of the other characters like Van. So it seems like she is definitely a very nefarious force in the forest, and probably in a very manipulative way got all these followers, and, you know, became this weird kind of siren-like figure, tempting and getting everybody to dance to her tune. And that's very much what they kind of, you know, made us predict. And then they've slightly started to subvert it, that she's a reluctant leader, that she genuinely believes in all the kind of magic, that she gets these hallucinations that upset her, and that she really kind of wants the best for everybody. And that's never kind of proven more than in this moment where she steps in and she says to Shauna, like, take your pain out on me. She knows that Shauna's got this violence, this danger, and this need to explode within her, and she says, give it to me to protect everybody else. And it's just a really beautiful, like, unique dynamic. It's just something nice and fresh, and with this kind of Lord of the Flies situation that they're in, it'd be very easy to do scenes that have been done before, even like the cult thing, like the opening scary cannibal thing. I'm kind of waiting for them to like repeat that and looking forward to sort of seeing that again, but they've gone in this other direction. And then you do get violence, you get pure raw emotional violence where Lottie Shauna beats Lottie to a pulp to get the anger out of her. Nobody steps in and helps her because they know that kind of the grieving mother needs to do this, but Lottie is literally like, you know, going through the ringer. And that takes me to episode 8 with the teenage characters, where it opens up and the girl she's gone septic, she's gone infected, she has like bloated out. It was disgusting. And it's like, yeah, obviously if you get beaten like that in a place like that where you've got no bloody medical supplies, you might very well end up going like that to the point where she might die. And it's crazy because Shauna has just now almost almost murdered her friend, and she's not really getting like any stick. Like, I just find the Shauna character, like, obviously because of the baby thing, is sort of able to get away with it, you know, and not get any stick. But even in like the future, she just always seems to like do things wrong and not have much like empathy or mercy, like not like ask for forgiveness, not like seem to like ever, you know, feel like guilt. And yeah, she's painted as kind of, you know, the lead character and almost as kind of like the soul of the story. So it's interesting because, you know, we're seeing her behave worse and worse. And so it's a really fascinating dynamic where throughout episode 8 we don't know if Lottie's going to survive. I suppose that's one of the reasons why the flash forward is living in the future. Obviously it's baked into the structure of the show. It's a little bit like disappointing when there's things like that. There isn't a cliffhanger or a spoiler for us. We know that Lottie ends up perfectly fine, so all of that tension's kind of taken away for us, but that's just kind of baked into the structure. It was still like extremely interesting. And then this leads, you know, it's this knock-on domino effect where Lottie says, don't waste my body, you can eat me. So again, being more and more kind of generous. Misty goes down and reveals this, and they're like, no, we're not eating her, like she's too popular, she's, you know, the it girl. Not, they don't say it like that, you know, they need her because they really believe in her cult stuff and in her spiritual leadership. But then the next scene, so they're drawing these cards and it's not explained like what's going to happen. They were like, oh, we must find another way. I thought it was, oh, well, let's go like grow some like crops, like let's go look and like pluck some berries. And the next scene, they're drawing these cards, and then like it's Natalie that draws the Queen of Hearts. That's obviously the worst card, you can tell from the music and stuff. And then she's turning around and Shauna's about to slit her, and I had to rewatch it like 4 times. I was like, what did I miss? I was like, winding back, like, where did I miss the scene where they said they were like going to be like drawing cards for like who's going to kill who? I also did not understand why it was Shauna, because I watched it a few times to see what card Shauna drew, like if she'd drawn like the murder card, but I don't even think they showed the card that she drew. I think it was just like Shauna's going to be the murderer because she's in the like violent mood. And then like, so she's, oh, you got to look me in the eye, and like Natalie giving a great performance again. And then obviously, you know, Travis, you know, her lover kind of protects her, says to run, and then boom, she's off running through the forest, and we are getting the cannibal scene, the hunt scene, the anger. They've got no limits, all of them, all those characters we love that seem like moral compasses, like Van, like Taysa, are going for it, going after her. They want to eat her, they want to kill her. They're carnal, they're cannibals, they're savages, they're primal, they do not care. And it was thrilling because we're waiting to see that for absolutely ages. Almost to the point where I'm like, it kind of happened out of the blue. I would have liked to have more scenes baked in to like, so it was more realistic that they did behave like that in that moment. And then also with that, I was just like, it's a shame we've got one episode left and you're finally doing this. And I feel like Shauna's kind of pregnancy, it should have been happening at the end of episode 1, and then we could be at this point by episode 3. And that's just kind of one of my biggest complaints of the series, is they've got some really great stuff and really great ideas, and they're just slow to get there. But hopefully, you know, in the finale there'll be so much grit and gristle that it'll make up for it for me, and I'll, you know, be begging them to stop. We'll see. I don't know, I'm quite hardcore, so I reckon I can take it through. So there's more. So they're hunting her, and then Travis's younger brother comes along and is like, come with me, like I can save you, I can get you somewhere. And this is finally going to explain where he was all that time when he was missing. So you can tell he's going to lead her to the cave that Coach Ben discovers, where there's like tiny little bones. So it's like, what was going on there? What kind of like monster or something is there? They run across the ice to get to the cave. All the girls are chasing them. The ice cracks. The boy falls through, and Natalie goes to save him. Misty catches up with her and is like, if you save him, then they're gonna eat you because you were the chosen one, and you're, you know, here is your chance. Basically, he can be a sacrifice and replace your body, and people would probably rather eat him, you know, because they're not as close to him with him not being on the team and all of that stuff. So, you know, let him be like your sacrifice and kind of save you, and let him die, let him drown, murder him. And they all get there, and then, you know, I think I can't remember who it was that said it, but one girl's like, oh, we can still do something, we can still save him. And they basically all just say, you know, if we let him drown in the icy cold water, then we get to eat. I know like some people like will kind of be like, you know, slightly get it and be like a little bit, you still see them as very immoral, but like be a little bit on their side, like because of the survival instinct element of it. But to me, I'm just looking at them all, including Natalie, who doesn't save him, he was trying to save her, and I'm just like, oh, you're all just like murderers, and you're all just like terrible people. I think particularly because they're all girls, and then it's 2 boys who have been like mistreated in the situation. Now this is maybe the second time. These are 2 brothers. So if this show wasn't framed from the perspective of like the schoolgirls in the wild, where we kind of come to it from like a kind of feminine perspective of enjoying the sort of like girl power and enjoying the twist, the subversion on girls being this violent, like say if the characters were all just kind of, if it was just real life, these are the 2 brothers in the story, the 2 family members in the story, the only people who were there as family, who also lost their dad in the bloody pilot. And if you were going to judge on anything, on who shouldn't lose anyone out there and of who should be protected, I guess it's family, so that family can stick together. What's worse than losing your brother? You know, what's worse than losing family, especially losing the sibling after you lose your dad? So if anything, those 2 boys should be valued to not be the ones that in any way experience any violence or lose each other, because, you know, of everybody there, they've got the strongest bond. They're the ones who've got real, you know, familial love. So that should be protected at all costs. If you were going to weigh up reasons to protect anyone, you know, the girls don't and the show doesn't, and they let this boy die, and it's terrible, it's awful, it's unethical, and I just can't wait to see how it was played out, how it airs, how it's portrayed, and it just you know, explains why they're so traumatized by the things they've done in the wild. And I am so intrigued to see Natalie from this point, now that she's kind of, definitely she's the least responsible as a whole for the whole murder, right? Especially because she really kind of was saving her life in that moment. But I think this might add up like to my theory that, you know, in the future she just seems so gnarled and bitter and like just this hollow shell of who she was back then. And what if it's because she's dealing with so much guilt? And what if, you know, in the moment when she was being hunted, that's the reason why she becomes like the Antler Queen? I wish I hadn't had that thought, because I hate like spoilers and I hate like giving myself a spoiler. So I kind of hope it's something different, because I don't want to be spoiled, but I think that that could be what has gone down. So I cannot wait to see more. And that's all my thoughts on what goes down with teens in episodes 7 and 8. Now we'll just get quickly into the adults. And I have to say that I still agree with myself that the teenage portion of the show is so bloody fascinating, and I wish we had more time devoted to it. And when we go to the adults, even when they're at, you know, Lottie's cult, and I love a cult, I love a retreat, I love an ashwagandha smoothie, I am so much less kind of enamoured with it than I am with what's going on in the past, and I still, you know, would back this to this day. So in episode 7 we see them at the cult kind of experiencing things, and the main kind of other, I think what made episode 7 so good is that it added in so many different strokes of the paintbrush, where you have Misty going into the adult Misty going into the isolation tank, and then she actually had a sensory deprivation tank, and then you have this, you know, stylized dream sequence where she's in Caligula. Toby Maguire's character is with her, and she's like, they're like tap dancing together, and it's a complete kind of like dream sequence, almost like a musical, kind of the moment where like a show's like jumping the shark. But I didn't feel like that. I felt like they pulled it off because Misty's so quirky and her character's kind of such a caricature in the future. But Christina Ricci does the performance so fantastic. I think it just worked and just gave us enough kind of creativity and spark and kookiness, and kind of had us rooting for that relationship just enough that it did work, which is quite a big surprise because, you know, it's definitely hard to pull something like that off, but I think they did. So, you know, big up Misty, and I do kind of enjoy the adult Misty character, even though it's got the caricature element. You know, that made me enjoy it, and it made me think like, gosh, you know, where else can this go? And then we basically have them kind of bonding, and they're dancing around the fire at the same moment when we get the flashback to Shauna beating up Lottie, and there's talk about suppression, and it's kind of like maybe they don't remember that they did these things to each other because they are so civil with each other in the future, you know, in the present day I should say. And then basically the episode ends with the cliffhanger of the Shauna's husband calling the retreat to tell her the police have found Adam's body, and that spills into the episode 8. And I'm gonna have to watch the finale because I do not understand like why they bothered giving this storyline so much airtime. So there's this guy who wasn't even a stalker, but Shauna thought he was a stalker, a blackmailer. She, you know, ends up killing a guy she's having an affair with. So it's a bit depressing and, you know, cantankerous. And then her and her husband have tried to cover it up. It was quite interesting that they had sex in the studio and things like that. But then, like, you know, it's just been this cat and mouse game with the police. Are they going to find out it's her or not? Like, is the next few seasons going to be Shauna in prison for like 15 years for it? No, I don't think so. So I just kind of don't get why we're spending time with it. You know, who's she going to frame for it? Is she just, you know, if she's going to get away with it, then can't she have got away with it by now? I definitely need to watch episode 9 because I don't know where they're going with the storyline. I don't know why they've like put so much airtime into this. It doesn't really give me that much. It's not emotionally moving. It doesn't make me kind of connect more with the Shauna character. I don't know. I don't understand like where they're going with it. But there must be some kind of bigger grand plan. So, you know, I am looking forward to episode 9, and I must be the one in the wrong that can't see where the kind of thrill for this is coming from. I think it's good that they developed the relationship a little bit, that Shauna's daughter now knows because her husband told her that Shauna did have a stillbirth in the wild, you know, so it helps her kind of understand her mother more, just like we're understanding Shauna's character more, and we're just kind of realising with every episode how dark Shauna might be, or might be like about to get. And they all kind of have these confession episodes where Misty confesses that she killed Jessica Roberts. It was Taysa that hired her. So we get all these interesting revelations. Shauna reveals what she did. Of course, in episode 7, Van revealed that, you know, she can't kiss Taysa because she doesn't want to get into that relationship because she has terminal cancer, which is awful, especially because I love Lauren Ambrose, who's like an awesome actress. She's kind of played down a little bit with her interpretation of Van, which is still great, like gorgeous, charismatic performance. Also, the teenage Van character, actress or actor, has got like way better. Like I really find myself responding to their scenes, and every time they come on screen, they really hit it. So they've massively improved between series 1 and series 2. Liv Hewson, I think her name is. Great performance. Yeah, I love that they were made into a series regular. Yeah, I love Lauren Ambrose, so I really hope that that cancer storyline somehow comes, that she will survive and get through it. Otherwise, she just come back for such a kind of upsetting story. You know, you really want to see her and Taysa together. So obviously just crossing my fingers, and you know, that's an interesting emotional hook that we've got there. And then episode 8 has ended with Lottie doing some very exciting, sexy, snazzy things with some poison, because she says that the wilderness is demanding a sacrifice, in the same way that when Travis's brother was killed, Van said that the wilderness has chosen. So episode 9, we're going to find out what else the wilderness chooses. Will the wilderness in the present day actually demand a sacrifice, and will they actually follow through with it? And as we only have one episode left of this very dynamic series, and we might have to wait, you know, 18 months for the next one, give me everything you got, literally. I cannot wait to see where they go with it. And yeah, solid A-, B+ vibes, but they can always do more. I think what this has shown is when they bring the emotion of the girls and of what these characters have gone through even before they got to the wilderness, when they bring the emotion of their personalities into the violence and the darkness, like that's when they really hit something very special in the show. So everything's getting better, the acting's getting better, the production design as well of these 2 episodes. That frosty, you know, snowy, just Narnia landscape, and then the small, crisp, smoky cabin they're in with all that crackling fire and all that hot water ASMR they're pouring everywhere. It's gorgeous production design. This series was done on a soundstage. Last year they were in the wilderness, but with all that snow, there's no way you could be doing the long days in the filming, so they did it in a soundstage. And I think they're really making use of just kind of like creating the atmosphere. You know, there's like more atmosphere in this series because the weather has got so extreme. Yeah, so that definitely amps it up. And I know I feel like I have to say like sorry for like critics, because it's really rare for me to criticize a series, especially when like it does so many like bombastic things. So trust me, I know they're rocking it. I know they'll continue to rock it. And just bring on episode 9. I'm gonna go watch it in like an hour, and I'll let you know what goes down unless I get eaten by cannibals. So wish me luck. Bye guys.